Max eating salad, take 1. Max eating salad, take 2. Max eating salad, take 3. Hey guys, how's it going? Today I wanted to talk about starving your reptiles. Now when I say starving, we're not actually talking about starving. And in an ideal world, you wouldn't have to do this at all. You would know exactly what needs to be fed and what portion size and how often you should offer it and such like that, but it never works out that way, especially when you're new to a species. So sometimes your reptile's diet could get a little out of control and be incorrect at times. For example, we have Max here. Max is my bearded dragon. She was a pretty good salad eater as a baby, and you know, as they get into adulthood, they're supposed to want salad more and more. Well, not for Max. This actually inspired our newly released merch. I'll put that in the top right-hand corner. Salads for Chumps with Max's face on it, because she just hated her salad. She never wanted to touch it. So I started messing around with the amount of insects and stuff I fed her, because that's what she really likes. I starved her out. I went from offering about like 8 to 10 1-inch size dubia roaches, for example. I offer a diverse amount, so it could be crickets and other things sometimes. But for example, dubia roaches, I went from 8 to 10 like 1-inch size ones to about probably like 4, maximum 5, 3/4 inch to 1-inch size dubia roaches. And she just got too hungry and she was like, I need to eat the salad. And she became a big salad eater. This transformation happened over the last couple months. And this is a big topic because a lot of people get very cautious about not feeding their reptile. They don't want to actually starve them, you know what I mean? And that's not what I'm saying in the title here and in this conversation. We're not actually starving them, but taking away their diet, forcing them to eat something else by removing food or not offering food that they like, that is a perfectly fine, acceptable, unharmful way of addressing their dietary needs, changing it to be correct. You're doing more good, like I said, than harm by kind of starving them out. And I know that's kind of a bad phrase to use, but I feel like that really gets the point across, really making sure that they don't eat only what they really like. You want to make sure they don't eat until they finally give in to the food they should be eating, you know? And they can eat some of the good stuff they like, but you have to have both. So that's totally fine, unharmful, acceptable. Don't worry about it. Trust me, I went through it, so I feel you. As another example, Tegus and meats. They love their meats. They will sort through anything to get to the good, juicy meats. But that should not be their only diet. Greens, veggies, even fruits can be very important to their diet and are very important. So you need to offer them, you need to make sure they eat them, and I did the exact similar thing with Frap, my Tegu. I starved them out. I reduced the amount of meats in there enough to where he was like, I need to eat these greens. I'm hungry, man. I need to eat this. So that is a perfectly valid and not harmful way of correcting a diet. It's gonna happen, like I said, especially when you're new to a species. We don't all start out as experts or very experienced. I'm cautious about using the term experts now. So, you know, you're gonna mess up, especially when it comes to diet. That's a very big and important topic for pretty much every reptile. So, you know, you need to sometimes correct it, and one valid way to do that is starve them out. You need to remember, these guys are pretty hardy. A lot of people forget that in many different fashions. They can go a little bit without eating. A lot of species can actually go pretty darn long. So, you know, it's not the end of the world if you don't give them food for a week or something. Starving them out is not going to harm them, and it's actually going to do them good as you correct, you know, their husbandry in terms of food and what you offer and giving them a correct, varied diet. So I think this is very important. Even I, before I got to this point and did all these transformations, was wary about doing it because as humans, we live a different lifestyle than these reptiles, and we don't really understand what it's like to live day to day as a reptile. And science basically tells us that they don't need to eat as much as a human. But you know, human emotions, human understanding, we don't think like they do. We don't really understand their plight or their lifestyle, their living, whatever you want to call it. So we think badly if we don't give them food every day, something similar to what we experience. And that's understandable. You know, you're a human. That's what you're meant to think. But they don't need that. They will be fine going a week without food or so. What's more important is giving them the correct nutrients, making them eat the correct stuff. That's the most important. That's more beneficial than actually feeding them every day or something, or as, you know, typical as their typical care guide says. So that's important. I think this is a really interesting conversation to have, and something that needs to be talked about more, because I don't really hear it talked about too much in terms of starving out your reptile or stuff. The most prevalent example I could give, and this is a constant battle I have, is with my Russian Tortoise, Tortellini. You can see there's some endives sitting right here. And what happens a lot with tortoises, at least from what I've seen watching a bunch of Camp Kenan and having a Russian tortoise, is that they can get particularly picky if they have too much of one piece of food they really like. Guess you guys can't see him, but he's in the back of his hide there. So in this case, it's been a few numerous foods. Initially it was endives. As you can see, that's not currently the favorite. Right now, I think he's had a little bit too much tortoise diet. And now he's not really fond of his greens. This is a constant battle. I really need to, I was about to say you, but I don't know about other owners. I really need to make sure I offer everything sort of equally, or he gets adjusted too much to one specific green or food, whatever you want to call it, and then you get situations where he doesn't want to eat this. As you guys know, diversity and variety in diet is super important to any reptile's diet, so I do a form of starving him out. I do not offer that food item that he's addicted to currently. So he hasn't had any tortoise diet for a while. With tortoises though, they can be pretty stubborn. They can go a while without eating. So in this case, I'm gonna have to wait him out a little bit. But, you know, he can take it. That's a Russian tortoise for you. He can go a long time without food, but he'll come around. He knows he needs to eat. And you just gotta play that game with them. You just gotta be certain in your care and your research and understanding of the species. And if you're certain that they'll do fine and be fine, you'll be good. You shouldn't worry about starving them out in that case. I'll give one more example. For my Ackies, as I sort of concentrated more and more on diversity and diet, I wanted to introduce them to superworms and such, and this was a little bit ago, and they didn't really understand the concept of a superworm. They'd kind of look at it and be like, what the heck is that thing? So I kind of, to initiate them being more curious into moving items, seeing if they were food, starved them out a little bit. I went a little bit longer. Not really starved them, but I kind of just skipped a few feedings, and they came around to, you know, seeing that it was moving, and they were hungry, and they were like, I might as well try this out. So, you know, you can do that if you're introducing a new food item as well, and they're kind of suspicious of it, or really don't grasp the concept for some reason. My guys are weird, obviously, right, Asus? So, you know, that is a way to use sort of this method as well. Get them to eat new food items that they haven't had before, get them adjusted, get them used to it. In conclusion, what I'm basically saying is that you should not be afraid to use not feeding your reptiles as a way to get them to eat their proper diet. It's perfectly acceptable, and I know human-wise it might be something you're not used to since we eat more often, and that's not something you're accustomed to, but it's a perfectly fine method to correct the diet. They will come around, they will eat. It just won't be that they'll just starve themselves to death. It will work out. So don't be worried, try it out. It's a great way to get them to start eating things they should be eating, because they're gonna get hungry, and you'll basically win the fight in that manner. So they know they need to eat. They're not dumb. So Asus is right here hanging out with us. I don't want him to think he can jump onto the camera, so I'm gonna reel him back in. But that's basically the conversation I wanted to have. So I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you, despite, you know, what you think could be problematic here, maybe try this out if you think there's a potential correction you can do diet-wise. It's worked out well for me so far across various species, so I think you shouldn't have an issue. Anyway, guys, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much what I wanted to talk about. I will probably see you guys next for a stream, maybe on Tuesday. I don't know if I'll have a video out by then, but that's basically what I think should be next up. Definitely check out my merch. My girlfriend worked really hard on the designs, and I think they're really, really cool, to be honest. So it would be awesome if you think you like them to support the channel and get some cool merch. Anyway, guys, make sure to subscribe, like, leave a comment, and I will see you next time. Say bye, Asus.